Morning guys, welcome to our latest game. We're going for a small table today, so a 6.4 table, but had a very busy run up to this weekend, so not haven't quite got the time to play a big game, but this is going to be a fairly intense combat. So this is 29th of August 1813, and this is just after Napoleon's victory at the Battle of Dresden, and he sent General Van Damme's corps, the First Corps, to lead the French pursuit of the Allied forces. And here we can see Van Damme's divisions starting to approach the next blocking position set up by the Russians. And this is around the villages of Stradarden and Preston. And unknown to the French, the Allies' delaying actions up to this point have been more and more successful, and they've been able to reform more of their army. So although the French think they've got a relatively weak blocking force of 2 brigades of Russian infantry, for which they're throwing elements of 2 divisions against it, actually the Russians have reformed their guard, and they will be counter-attacking by their guard earlier in the game. The objectives of the game are to capture the 2 villages, this village on the right here and the village on the left. Both forces are moving up to this streamline and into combat. So, there's quite a lot of terrain, as you can see on the table, so line of sight for artillery down on the valley floor is restricted, and will only be able to fire at one another once units enter the stream areas and the built-up terrain. The French artillery batteries are on the hill up here, however, have a longer line of sight and can fire across the table. Right, let's have a look at the forces we've got deployed today for the start of the game. So let's start with Van Damme. So he's Commander-in-Chief, wherever I popped him. He's here up on the hill with his artillery. He will grant 1 extra ADC to the French. Then we have Revest's brigade, which is this brigade on the right. 4 battalions, all of line troops. We then have Mouton's brigade, a light brigade here. These are all veterans on the centre of the table. And then we have Philippon's brigade, which the Légère again within it. So these are 3 battalions here are veterans and the others are line. So this is a pretty experienced French formation. All the light troops are classed as veterans, all the others are as line troops, as are all the artillery batteries. They're going against a number of Russian brigades. We have Chasovsky with the 4th Jaeger and the Revel regiment. These are occupying or approaching this particular village. The Jaegers are the ones without the flags. The 2 other line regiments are on the flank of that brigade formation. They've got an attached regular artillery battery. And then we have Bistrom as well, who is leading this brigade down here to the left. All of the Russian troops are, let's just check, they're all line quality. Yep, everything will be fighting as line for those troops who are on the table at the moment. Guard forces will be elite or veterans as and when they arrive, and we'll describe that then. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this game, and we'll be back with the first turn. All right, so we've rolled for activation. Dan is playing the French today. Charlie is the commander of the reserve. In other words, he's in his bedroom playing on computer games. We'll see whether he arrives later on this morning. I'm playing the Russians. Both me and Dan have activated our brigades. So the 2 Russian brigades and 3 French brigades are all in motion. I've 1 initiative for the Russians and will be moving first. No charges in this first turn, as everything's too far apart. All right, so we completed movement for turn 1. Over here on the far right, Dan has deployed his light infantry into line. He wants to get into a battle of firepower with the Russian forces on the other side of the stream, and he's moved his substantial number of skirmishers up into the stream bed itself to start engaging the relatively small Russian skirmish screen. That does not look good for the Russians. On the Russian side, the line infantry have moved up, so again they could also start taking position up against the edge of the stream. they moved up and did get to move first, but didn't quite have enough movement to get into the village. So the French have beaten them in to the first village of the game. So we'll see what goes on here as we get into the firepower stage of the move. But we've got Dan's veteran light infantry pouring into this village. Across the table on the far side, Dan's moved both of his brigades forward. They've moved up to the river line, but in this combat the Russians have beaten them to it, and that village is owned by the Russians at the moment. That's it for movement on turn one. We'll now do some shooting. Right, so we've completed firing for turn one. Dan's skirmish screens here were pretty effective. They caused a casualty against the Russian skirmisher screen. But most effective of all was their garrisons that have occupied the village, who inflicted 3 casualties on that Russia unit in close proximity. All our artillery has fired, and I think pretty much all of our artillery has caused fatigue casualties on itself as a result of Dan and I rolling 2s, 3s and 4s with our artillery batteries. So not great results from the artillery, so no major effect. And the skirmish exchange on the far side of the table, 1 more casualty also caused on the Russians. That's it for turn 1. We'll move on and do activations in turn 2. Alright, so the Russians managed to get infantry assault over off their left-hand brigade, but unfortunately their right-hand brigade went hesitant. But that one is the one already occupying the building, so if anything, that's gone all right for the Russians, so quite pleased about that. And we are charging this building. We did also get initiative, even though we had a -1 modifier for having a hesitant brigade. All right, Dan, let's see your defensive fire then. So you get 3 shots from your garrison opening up against the attacking battalion. Don't cause any casualties, so they suffer no more penalty, and that combat will take place in the hand-to-hand combat section. There are no charge resolutions for attacking buildings. Troops go in automatically. All right, that's it for charges. Any charges for the French, Dan?
I'm not sure I'm in range at the moment.
Okay, doesn't look like it. We'll come back and confirm. Right, on the left-hand side of the table, Dan was in range, so he has taken the opportunity of getting infantry assault off on this left-hand brigade to assault. So 1 brigade has gone into this part of the village with a support. The 2nd battalion, sorry, not brigade, battalion. 2nd battalion has gone into this building, again with a support. He's left the 2 other battalions as a reserve and is contemplating what to do with his artillery, as that's threatened a bit by the Russian cavalry who have moved up. I've moved another one of my battalions up to try and get it into support range from behind the guns. And I deployed my other infantry in line. So let's see what happens as we move into the firing step of turn 2. Right, so the Russians have fired their skirmishers, been pretty ineffective. We caused 1 casualty. The Russian gun battery doesn't have much to fire at, as the French are holding back from crossing the stream, and all the vegetation around the stream blocks line of sight. So we have got this French skirmisher screen in front of us. We know it's at -2, but we'll give it a go. Oh, another fatigue casualties. This is 2 turns in a row. This is outrageous. Am I on 2 casualties? I took 1 from your skirmishers today, so I'm now on 3. 1 more casualty, and I'll be worrying about artillery assault. All right, and then we're going to fire my Russian line here. This will be an inferior volley as they deployed into line this turn, and it'll be at -3 because we're going at skirmishers. Let's see how we do. 7 -3 is 4. That won't be anything for a standard volley. I actually lose fire discipline, and that's it. That's the result of a pretty ineffective turn of Russian firing. Now over to the French. Right, needless to say, Russian firing was ineffective. Dan's firing has been spectacularly good. So 3 more casualties caused by that skirmisher screen. They rolled a 5 and 2 6s. Did you roll? I can't remember exactly what you rolled. Did you roll
I think
5?
6 and 2 5s.
6 and 2 5s, because I think 2 6s is a discipline test. So 2 more casualties on that artillery, taking them up to 6. And we took more casualties on our infantry line here and on our skirmish screen. But next to fire are Dan's 2 artillery batteries on the hill. They're opening up against this French battalion behind the fence line down here. So they'll be at long range, -1, because of the cover.
And then you should took one of these 2 actually, because they'll probably be in closer range.
Depends how close your skirmishers are. I think if you'll take, I think there's a risk of bounce through on your skirmishers if you fire at the infantry down here close to the stream. But if you are prepared to take that risk, so on a 4, 5 or 6 they might take 1 casualty from their own artillery fire, then yeah, you can fire at that line or indeed at the column.
Yeah, I might fire at the column.
Right, as it's at long range, which I think it is, you don't get a bonus for firing at the column, but you obviously can choose that one if you want.
I thought it was at close range.
It's close and effective, but you're from your artillery, so it's more than 24 inches, it's at long range. Okay, so if that's less than 24?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's at effective range, so you will get an extra combat dice.
They're both effective.
Okay, cool. So 2 dice and roll a red one for the combat dice. 4, 5 or 6, that'll cause an extra casualty. So the first battery, pretty good. So you get a bonus casualty, so you've rolled a 6 and an 8 on the artillery fire. So at effective range, an 8 gets reduced to a 7 because I'm in cover. So that's another casualty. So that's 2 casualties so far on this column. Yeah, let's roll for the second battery. Double 1, that's a fatigue casualty, Dan, and no casualties on me. And you're actually out of ammunition with a double 1. So you fire at reduced effectiveness from that battery. You can spend command points to rearm. And then let's roll a 4, 5 or 6 twice to see if you get a bounce through casualty on your own infantry. So that's 1 casualty against the skirmish screen. All right.
I think it skips that one because it's close.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if there's any more firing and come back. All right. So the Russians clearly surprised the French. They hadn't expected the Russians to be so close. They've driven into that village, caused heavy casualties on the French, and we have a retreat result on the French unit. So they have pulled back. Down here, it's likely to be the same action, but in reverse. We've got 2 battalions of French attacking each one of these villages, and additionally for the Russians, their troops are unformed as they only occupied them this turn. So I roll for my first lot of Russian casualties. I caused 2. Oh my gosh, how many did you cause, Dan?
5.
You caused 5. I'm thrown out and I retreat. I'll just put a 5 next to that unit, and then let's roll for the second combat. I only cause 1 casualty. You cause 4. Again, I retreat. I'm thrown out of this village, and both those battalions are retreating. So this brigade will falter at the start of next turn. Okay, success for the French at the end of turn 2. So the French infantry brigade has successfully seized both elements of the village on the left, throwing the Russians out and causing a falter test on that Russian brigade, hovering on the edge of the table, not in a good position there. In the centre, there's a standoff, but a lot of casualties now caused on that Russian artillery battery by the French skirmish screen, although they do get a chance to be charged by my cavalry next turn. And on the right, the French occupy one of the buildings in the village, although the Russian counterattack did succeed in throwing them out of the other. All right, let's see what happens as we move into turn. So we've got some complex use of ADCs. The French have got the bounty of 5 ADCs, so... and we did check the rules on this last time on the back of another query from another viewer. So thanks for all your questions. They really helped me get the rules a bit righter. Is that a word? A bit righter? A bit more correct. So what Dan has done is he's put a re-roll on this left-hand brigade of this assault on the right-hand side of the table. He's doing that because he wants to make sure he activates, so his unformed unit that got thrown back and is on a retreat result will be able to remove the retreat marker. And as he's got a reroll, and I think you only need to apply 1 reroll to the whole brigade, he's also putting an ammunition order onto the guns to allow them to replenish, and he's putting artillery assault on the same battery on the basis of that's the optimal use of his command reroll dice, as the reroll will benefit all of those activations. I think that's the right way to do it. Otherwise, he is taking a risk on his brigade on the left, and given that it's captured the objectives, he's pretty happy with where they are. I, as I say, only have 1 ADC and I have a faltering brigade. So I think the most important thing we'll do before we do Dan's activation is see how this brigade exists on the left. It has no reroll, but wow. Dan, I think you say that's typical, don't you, Dad?
It is. It bounced off my skirmishers as well. Which would have gone probably nowhere near a 6 before then.
So that's a 6, and that's obey orders, so I do not lose my brigade on the right. That is a big relief for the Russians and means we still have a game. All right, Dan, let's roll your activations. Let's see about this brigade, which has got all the orders on. We'll do that one first. So you have got a reroll here to try and activate the brigade. You get a 6. So you have ammunition is resupplied and artillery assault is in place on that battery.
That one.
Okay, they are active as well. And then the large brigade on the left is active. All right, so I've got 1 hesitant brigade. You've got 2 no hesitant brigades. Let's roll for activation. I get a 7. Dan, do you want to just roll 2 dice for initiative?
I get 12.
12, you have initiative. The French go first in turn to the right. So the Russian Jaegers are charging into the building on the right flank, see if they can push the French back out there. Over here, my cavalry have charged across the river, but unfortunately went unformed as they went across the river. So let's see how Dan's defensive fire goes. So this will be a close range artillery fire. Roll 2d6, Dan. See how many casualties you cause. I'm looking hopeful. Yeah, that's a 3. Dan's up to our normal artillery effectiveness. On a 3, that's a fatigue casualty to yourself. No impact. And now let's see how the charge result goes for my hussars.
Have a look.
All right, so the Guard Hussars charged over the river, but real blow that they went unformed. We have, however, rolled an 11. The French do have a +1, and they do have a reroll for supports. Let's see how the French do. Pretty good. 8 goes up to a 9. Do you want to reroll one of those 4s? There's a tough choice for you. So 9 against 11. I've won by 2. Cavalry versus infantry. I'm melee with a land. You would melee unformed.
You could die in the combat.
If you get a 5, that would mean you're on 10. That would be the same result. If you get a 6, it would be a straight melee. No, on a 6 I would retire. So if you roll a 6, you will force me off.
I would re-roll because...
What happens if I get lower?
If you get a 1, I get victory and you rout.
I would still do the re-roll because you're probably going to lose in the combat because you only do get 2 dice.
Although I am unformed, but I am guard.
And you would have a land too.
That's true.
And down.
Tough choice.
Do my infantry counter Thor in the combat?
No, because I haven't charged them.
I'll go with my younger brother's advice.
Wow, important roll. Can he get a 6? He's playing the odds.
Oh,
No, he's rolled a 1. So that means on the 6 versus 11, I have actually won by 5. So actually, it doesn't change the result.
Oh, it doesn't change.
I simply melee with a land, and you melee
So we're
unformed.
really-
So we weren't filming the skirmisher fire because we didn't think it'd be particularly effective. But Dan managed to roll a double 6, which caused 2 more casualties on this Russian artillery battery, taking it up to 8. Also caused a destiny test, which I rolled a 4, but given that they had 8 casualties, that goes down to a 2. That's a retreat result. They take 1d3 more casualties, so they actually rolled a 6 for that. So they took 3 more casualties. So not only have they retreated, but they have been destroyed. So that will be another destiny test, or falter test, on this right-hand brigade as that artillery battery pulls back off the table and disintegrates. Right, we are going to film the artillery assault. Let's see what Dan can do on this. While he's on camera, he will undoubtedly roll a double 1 and get another low on ammunition. Let's see how we do, Dan. Your right hand as I look from here. Artillery battery going against the Russians down here. So artillery assault, so yeah, 2 extra combat dice, and it's at effective range, so you get actually 3 of them. Yeah, you got them. Well done. See how we do. And what did I say? I think I said he'd get a 3. He's got a 3, and he got nothing from his... Oh no, he got 1 extra casualty from his bonus dice. So that takes those guys up to 3. Not 12. Misread that. 3, and on a result of a 3 is a fatigue casualty on that battery. How many casualties have they now taken down?
3.
Okay, so they can still do artillery assault in future turns. All right, let's open up with the other battery. So this will just be normal 2 blue dice and 1 combat dice because you're firing at a column. A double 1. Yes, you have seen it here. That is out of ammunition and a fatigue casualty on the other battery and no bonus casualty. Someone has clearly been spiking these guns overnight. Right, assaulting this built-up area on the right. Russians' odds are against them, but we've done it before. Can we do it again? Possibly. 2 casualties for the Russians. Let's see what we get for the French. 4 casualties for the French. Actually, you get an extra dice because you're veterans. No, 4 casualties for the French. So the French win, and they win by 2. So I will be thrown back, assaulting a built-up area. I retreat, and you maintain hold on the building. All right, so unless I am extremely unlucky, my Guard Hussars should break this unformed artillery unit. And that nearly was really unlucky. With all of those dice, I only caused 4 casualties, but I will win this. I take 1 on my Guard Lancers. That takes them up to Guard Hussars. That takes them up to 3 casualties. But you are run down, and that artillery battery is destroyed, and you will have to take a falter test on your attacking brigade. Okay, so how do we think we're going, Dan? This is where we are at the end of turn 3. So the Russians still own one of the buildings in the left-hand village. They haven't been able to bring any of the reserves on, but they desperately need to do that. One bit of good news for the Russians. Their cavalry has broken the French supporting artillery that was by the river, but the French do hold all of the villages on that flank, and their brigade on that flank is also faltering again, it also having lost its artillery battery this turn. So that's where we are at the end of turn 3. I think the key for the Russians will be, will their guard be able to turn the tide? Let's see when we're back after our lunch. Right, so we've got some important ADC rerolls at the start of turn 4. I've only got 2 ADCs. Dan, you got? 3. All right, I'm going to put 2 on my faltering right-hand brigade. Dan's allocated 2 to his faltering brigade on his left, and a reroll on the brigade in the centre. Let's do our other activations first. So my left-hand brigade is active. Dan, your roll for your brigades. Your left-hand brigade? Inactive, sorry, your right-hand brigade. Okay, and your brigade with a reroll is active. And now let's do on camera our falter tests. So pretty important. How will we do? Shall we do the French first or the Russians, Dan? Russian first, okay. So I've got a reroll. I roll a 3. That won't be good. That'll be a retire off the table. For veterans in line, that's retire. That would take my whole brigade off the table. So I'm going to have to re-roll it. And I roll a 1. Savoir qui peut. The loss of the gun, the retreating of the other unit, has caused the Russian right-hand brigade to collapse. Tragedy for the Russians. Now let's, fingers crossed, see if the same happens to the French. And they roll a 5. That's going to be all right. That's an obey orders for veteran and line troops. So you just get to act as you wish. All right, that's it. This could be a quick turn 4 and a pretty decisive one for the French. Let's see what happens as we move into turn 4. Right, so the French really are waiting for the storm to arrive if the Russian guard appear. So they've now fully occupied these 2 villages. They have supports available to them in the riverbed. They've pulled their skirmisher line back to the woods, and now they're in cover. They can fire if they choose at the unformed guard cavalry. They've moved their supporting units into line formation over here, and on the far left, nothing really changing, using their superiority in skirmish fire to try and drive the Russians back, but the French have assaulted the village on the left here with 1 battalion with a further 1 in support. So we'll see how the village combat goes, but first there's a little bit of firing to do. French to lead. Right, so we've done the shooting, no major impact. There's not much left on the table for the Russians to fire at the moment. The Russian cavalry were out of range of most of the Russian guns, and their artillery caused a couple of casualties against this unit in the open. Now we've got the assault against the village. We've got 2 French battalions going in, 1 defending, and the Russians cause only 1 casualty. The French do pretty badly. They only cause 3 casualties, so they have 1 by 2, which will be enough, and I will retreat out of the village, and the French move in unformed. Right, here we are at the end of turn 4, so the French French owning all victory conditions now. They've now taken both of the villages. The Russians really do desperately need their reserves. We may bring them on automatically this turn just to keep the game going, as the French pretty much have it in the bag. Let's see if the Russian to counterattack can dislodge them. On we go with turn 5. So movement's complete. The Russians have redeployed ever so slightly, moving this battalion here slightly to the right, but still in support distance from its colleagues here. They're exchanging fire with the skirmishers in the woods. The Russian Guard Reserve has now arrived on table, and as has Daniel's final brigade, so he now has his full 2 divisions on table. We're now doing Dan's artillery batteries, see if they can cause another Russian battalion to disperse as a result of casualties. So this one here has already taken 8. Let's see how Dan does, firing away again at effective range against this battery. Wow, that could be it. That's really good. 11 minus 1 for the cover makes it a 10. But a 10 at effective range is 3 casualties in a discipline test. We've got an extra casualty dice there. That's 4 casualties. That takes them up to 12. So the battalion disperses. Whether or not that discipline test would have mattered is a moot point. Another success for the French artillery. Now, Dan, where are you going to fire your second battery? Because you can redirect it against another Russian infantry battalion.
I think the only one that would actually be allowed to fire is probably that one or the cavalry.
Yeah.
I might fire at the cavalry, to be honest.
Okay, give a go at the cavalry. That's long range. Just 2 blue dice. So what we get. Yep. Not so good. A 5 at long range is half a casualty. So 4, 5 or 6 you convert to a casualty. Yep. No, we don't. Okay. I think everything else, well, not necessarily everything else is out of range. Dan, you might have some fire from the village against the Russian Guard. Just check the range from the edge of the building. Yep, they're in range, so 3 shots against the Russian Guard. No casualties from there, and you will have 6 shots from both garrisons here against the Leib Guard of the Russians here, the bodyguard. Okay, that's pretty good. We should have done them separately, actually, because I don't know whether the double 6 is from the same building or from 2 different buildings. Roll a 1, 2 or 3. If it is, it's a destiny test. It is, so it will be a destiny test on the guard. They should be all right because they test at +2. They roll a double 1. That's terrible. I don't know whether a double 1 is an automatic fail. We'll check that and we'll mark up the casualty. We checked this on my elite guard, and no, there isn't an automatic fail for a double 1. So double 1 +2 modifier makes it a 4. So they simply go unformed. But that has ground my prospective assault on this flank to a halt immediately at the start of this turn. All right, we'll now do the assault as my regular line battalion here goes in against this building. I start with 5 dice. I lose 1 for being assaulting a building. Dan, you've got how many casualties? Just the 1, is it? Yeah. Okay, so you get 5 dice. Normally, and your veterans, you get 6. Oh, this is going to be tough for me. I cause 2 casualties. You cause 3. That is a far fight. You can choose to carry on fighting if you wish.
I want to carry on fighting. So I get reserves.
You get reserves. I also get reserves.
Do you?
Yeah, because you can put up to 2 units into a building. No, they're probably too far away. I will. Right, so the Russians will roll their full to test. So we lost our battalion from here in the centre, and we roll a 4. That's not too bad. We are a line brigade, and on a 4, what do we do on a 4? On a 4, line troops rally. So, brigade successfully rallies retreating units. Okay, so I don't have any of those. Routed units disperse. Well, my unit was destroyed. They are go hesitant, and if I'm within 9 inches of a formed enemy unit, I have to step back. I think I'm probably more than 9 inches away, but we will just check that and do any necessary step backs. That's the activation for that brigade, so that does count as hesitant, and then we'll roll for the guards, who are actually active, so that's at least a bit helpful. Right, so we've done some more musketry. Dan's pushed his skirmish screen over the river and moved some of the French infantry up into the river. done a few more casualties against various different Russian units, including another 2 casualties to our guard on the right, though they did, Dan rolled another double 6, but they did pass their discipline test. So they're all right and not unformed. Dan's now opening fire with his guns. Where are you going to fire them, Dan?
At the cavalry.
Okay, first one at the cavalry. This will be a long-range shot. A 5 will be half a casualty. Roll a 4, 5 or a 6 for a result. Yep, that's 1 casualty against the guard cavalry. They got to 5. And then on the second battery, a 6. Again, that's half a casualty. 4, 5 or 6 to convert.
Yeah.
Well, you do luckily that turn. You get 2 conversions on 2 50% charges, and they're on 6 casualties. All right, there's no hand-to-hand combat this turn. So that's the end of turn 6. We'll move on with turn 7. All right, so it's holding up here. The Russians are giving it a good push. So we've resurrected the relic of our left-hand brigade here, and we've charged the left hand of the 2 buildings with our line infantry. Our Finnish grenadiers of the guard have charged in against the right-hand village. The guard cavalry has declared a charge. It's gone through the skirmishers who have successfully evaded. We're now trying to crash into the line battalion that's behind it. We haven't disordered ourselves going across the stream. Let's see if they can form square. They need an 8 or less. They roll a 9, they stay in line. All right, and then finally we will charge into the village with our guard down here as well. So I'll finish moving those charges and we'll see if there are any French responses. Right, so we've done the charges. So the Russian regular brigade charged in against the left-hand building. The lead battalion took a couple of casualties, but the charge will go in. The Finnish grenadiers of the guard charged in against the right-hand village. The French cavalry charged across the stream, drove off the French skirmishers, but the French infantry battalion on the other side of the stream was able to form square. And down here, the Tsar's bodyguard have charged in against the right-hand village, but took an extra casualty doing so. That's it for charges. We'll now do movement and regular firing. Right, shooting over, we now get to the critical hand-to-hand combat phase. Can the Russian counterattack drive into some of these villages? I worry that even if they do, it's going to be short-lived, but we'll give it a go. All right, we'll start with our regular battalion down here. I get 5 dice to start with. I'm attacking a built-up area, so I lose 1, and I've got 6 casualties, so I lose 1. So that's 3 attacking dice from that unit. My second unit starts with 5 dice. It loses 1 for attacking a built-up area, and it loses 2 for its cumulative casualties. So I only attack with 5 dice. Dan, you've taken 3 casualties.
Yep.
So you defend with 5, and actually you have superiority here. You'll get a 6th dice because you're veteran. So it's 5 against 6.
Yep.
Let's see how we do. The Russians ain't going to get in. Wow! Well, I think we've lost a brigade. This will be another falter test. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 casualties against the Russians, 5-1. The French triumph and drive back the regular Russian brigade. Can the guards do any better? As you can see, there is an enormous hole here in the rest of the Russian left. I have 1 battalion of that brigade left. The supporting battalion took 2 casualties. That caused it to disperse. The attacking battalion took 3 casualties. That took it up to 9. It had to retreat. It had to fall back and fell back off the table edge. So now on with the guard. All right, so the guards did pretty well. They're continuing to push forward with the assault. We didn't break in. The French caused 3 casualties. The guard caused 4. So we get to fight a second round. Dan has decided to fight that second round. So both of us start with 5 dice on each unit. I don't lose 1 for breaking in this turn, so I stay on 5, and I'm veterans, so that would be 6 dice. So I will have 12 dice to attack with. Dan, you defend with your 5. 6 because you're veteran. How many casualties has that unit taken now?
It's 3.
It's only 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get 6 for the first unit, And you've got a support as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
And the support is how strong? How many
That's
casualties? Is
5.
it? It's taken 5 casualties, so you get 6 plus 5, so you get 11 dice. The Russians have 12. I get to re-roll 4 misses to get up to my 12. Right, we do pretty well. Dan, you know what you got to beat? Russians have caused 7 casualties as they storm into the village. How will the French defenders do?
Not so much.
Not so well. Not well at all, actually. Only 1 casualty. That'll be a rout and or a retreat result, and the Russians have taken the village. So another good result for the Russians. So the bodyguard, Alexander's bodyguard, drove into the village and cleared the French out. So they now occupy the village there. They occupy the village here, but they just don't have enough battalions left to be able to force the rest of the building. So I'm sure we'll just get heavily whittled down as the French get ready and then counterattack. Okay, that's it for the end of turn 7. Now, turn 8. Unfortunately for the Russians, we only have 1 ADC. Let's see what we get. We roll a 4, which I think is a retire result for a faltering brigade. No, actually, it's a rally. So, the Russian sole unit can stay in place, but it will need a 5 to activate, and the brigade is automatically hesitant on a rally. So Dan rolled well, and he got obey orders for his brigade that retreated away from the village on its falter test. And unfortunately, my guard has gone hesitant because I had to apply my ADC to keep this brigade in play. Actually, I realised I'd been overly rash. I did take this retreating unit off the table, but it could form up behind the protection of that guard unit. So it is on the table, ready to take artillery fire and skirmisher fire this turn, which will probably knock it off again, and the brigade will falter again. All right, that's it for activations. Now on with... All right, Dan's done the rest of his skirmisher fire, just a couple of casualties here and there to the Russians. But now the important stuff, his 2 artillery batteries on the hill. They've switched targets to this unit on the hedge line. See what we do. You don't get a artillery dice because I'm not in column. I'm in line. So it's a 5. In cover goes down to a 4. That won't be anything. And then the other battery, where are they firing?
The cavalry.
The cavalry, okay. A 3. I think that's a fatigue casualty again. But no loss of ammunition this time. All right, that's it for firing. We're now into hand-to-hand combat in turn 8 as the French counterattack. 2 battalions going into this village in the centre, trying to kick the Finnish guard out, and 2 more battalions going against the life guard holding this village. Let's see how they do. Right, so down here we have 2 battalions of French attacking. That'll give 8 attack dice and 3 defensive dice for my grenadiers. The grenadiers don't roll great. 2 casualties. Wow, and the French have done brilliantly. They've caused, what's that, 5 casualties down? So the French kick the Russians out the village and we retreat. Should have a better chance in this one. I get 7 dice because I'm elite guard defending this village. Being attacked by line troops down again, attacking with 8 dice.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how we do. The guards clearly have had a bad day. They only caused 2 casualties. And the French caused 2 casualties. It's a draw. I am going to stay and fight a second round. Let's see what happens. It's very annoying for Dan. It's very annoying for me. We've just had a tragedy at the start of turn 10 for the Russians. Just as we're trying to drive into these buildings as dusk is starting to fall, we've gone hesitant with our whole army. So nothing's happening. Dan's now rolling for his. Did artillery assault go off?
No. The artillery assault I haven't rolled for yet.
Oh, right, okay.
Artillery assault has gone off.
Okay.
Reserves. Inactive. And over here. Active.
Cool. So I'm at -2 for initiative. I roll an 8, so I go down to a 6. And the French get...
An 8.
An 8. The French have initiative in turn 10. Topsy-turvy game, top of turn 10, and the French have charged in again against the lifeguard in the village on this left flank. The French still hold the centre here, and with the Russians being hesitant, there's no option to push them out. So we'll do some firing, and then we'll do the assault on the village on the right. Right, we've done various firing. Dan has finally destroyed the Russian skirmish screen that was down here. I threw it out to protect this battalion because it's already on 10 casualties. But he has wiped out the skirmish screen, and so that will be a falter test on my line infantry brigade. Dan's just weighing up where to fire his 2 artillery batteries.
This one's going to shoot at the cavalry again.
Okay, again at the cavalry.
Yes.
What'd you get?
12.
Double 6. That's the first one of the game on shooting, so that will be a destiny test for the double 6, and that'll be some pretty heavy casualties. This is at long range, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
So 12 is 3 casualties and a discipline test, so that takes them up to 14 casualties. Need to remember that's 14. The casualty counter doesn't actually go up to 14. I can borrow a dice, could I, Dan? Just for a second. We'll put a 2 next to it. So it's on 14 casualties, so 1 away from destruction. I've got to do a destiny test at -2. I've lost all my red dice. Where have I put them? Probably sitting under the counters, under the sheets. I roll a 10, so -2 is an 8, so they are all right from that. And then, Dan, if you want to roll your destiny test,
Is it 2 dice?
it is 2 dice,
I got 6.
and you roll a 6. You recover 1 casualty, or the guns can melee with a lan. I think you'll probably choose to recover a casualty. All right, so the Gardezars probably need to retire off table. They've taken 14 of their 15 casualties. Dan, is that both of your artillery batteries fired?
I'm not sure. Did I fire that one?
I don't think you did. I think you've still got the second one.
I'm going to fire at the cavalry.
I thought you might. You thought, right, will he get that last casualty?
Come on.
He has an 8. I'm sure at long range that is 1 casualty. Let's just check. It might be a half casualty. That would be 10. At 8, it is 1 casualty. The Guard Hussars disperse. That'll be a Falter test for the Russian Grenadiers. All right, so we did some firing down here. Of course, a couple of casualties against the French in the village as my battalions had ground to a halt. I thought we might as well volley them. So the Guards did reasonably well and caused some casualties through the windows and the defensive positions that the French had taken in the village here. Over here, we've got assault combat. You're going against my life guard, but I have taken in that front battalion 9 casualties. So I start with 5. I'm a grenadier, I'm an elite, your line, so I get a +2, and I get +1 for being elite, but then I lose 2 for 9 casualties, I think. So you get to attack back, and you've got four dice for both battalions if they're both under 4 casualties.
That one's on 4, so it's 7.
Okay, 7 dice. So it's 7 against 6. The Russians only cause 1 casualty.
We cause 4.
The Russians are thrown out of the village. It's a tragedy. Tragedy for the Russians, anyway. All right, this could be the critical role of the game. We've got another destiny test on our regular brigade. That will take the Russian army down from 3 brigades to 1, just the Guard. And I think the Guard, not owning any of the villages, will not be too impressed. All right, so we've rolled a 1. That's a Savoy keeper. We did have 2 dice. Let's see what we do with the reroll. A 2. The line infantry brigade retires. We'll have a serious think about what the Guard think about that. We only have the Russian Guard left on the table. As Dan just pointed out, the observant of you may have spotted that was wrong. I had 2 Falter tests to do. Not only had I lost the skirmish screen, the brigade skirmish screen for my regular battalion down here, which caused a Falter test on the regular battalion, but I also lost the Guard Hussars, so I had a Falter test on them to do. So rather than having 2 ADCs with a reroll on the regulars, I had 2 ADCs that I had to allocate to both. And as you saw, I rolled a 1 and a 2. So whichever way round, both the line and the Guard have had enough for the day. Too many casualties, and unlike the historical result, the French have taken both villages and emerged victorious. Well done, Dan. Good performance. And actually, you've taken hardly any casualties in the whole game, have you? It's really tough assaulting buildings. And Dan's superiority in skirmishes really paid off. He was able to occupy the river line and produce fearsome firepower out of his skirmish screens. The Russians could never break through those skirmish screens and just didn't have enough forces to push the French back out of the villages. It's interesting to see the new infantry assault rules. I hope we're playing them right. It certainly makes buildings really change hands quickly, and whichever side is assaulting tends to get into these buildings. We're not treating them as strong points, just as normal built-up areas, and certainly creates a much bigger ebb and flow. So I think on balance I quite like it. It makes a more dynamic game. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all again next time. Cheers everyone. Bye.